Okay, today we're going to be looking at Shores by Sorley MacLean, and this poem carries on the same sort of themes that we've started looking at with his other two poems in terms of um, the themes of love or like intense love and um, how that's combined, with a sort of like reflection on time and eternity and that kind of thing. So with the other two excuse me, with the other two poems that we looked at so far, the girl with the red gold hair, and um we also looked at, what was it, the girl with the red gold hair, and I gave you immortality. With these two other poems, the speaker in those is sort of thinking about the object of his love, thinking about the woman that he's in love with as something that he's sort of pursuing or something that he is far away from, and that causes him a lot of pain, basically. And in both of those poems, he also expresses how much he loves her and that he'll like love her forever, even if she's not with him. So the idea is that the person he's in love with is far from him, and to some extent he's thinking about her and he wants to be close to her. Okay, in this poem, it's slightly the concept is changed where the speaker is not far from the person that he loves, but they're actually together, and he is essentially standing with her, or he's next to her, basically. He's with her, and what he's illustrating, he's expressing in this poem is the same idea of loving her intensely and essentially trying to not just like immortalize her through the poetry in terms of like he loves this woman and he wants to make have her remembered forever or something, but it's the moment itself, so he wants to immortalize the moment itself. In other words, he doesn't want to ever leave her. He doesn't want them to ever be apart from each other. Okay, so that's the idea of this poem. Okay, that's the concept, and the way that he achieves this, the way that he talks about this, and expresses this idea or this desire, is he uses a lot of nature imagery, which is similar to, like I said, the other poems which we've looked at, and in this case, he uses nature imagery, which relates to things in nature which uh, are almost, they're not actually eternal, but they're almost eternal, like or very, they're like huge in some kind of way. They're like some kind of like the ocean, for example, is like that. Yeah, they're like vast. So he uses a lot of these images to sort of try and illustrate and capture his love, the love that he's describing. Okay, so he begins, if we were in Talisker on the shore, where the great white foaming mouth of water opens between two jaws as hard as flint. Now there's other translations of this poem which they don't read exactly like this. They read with certain, I think, Gaelic names instead of, the actual translation. I think this translation, and both have been done by Sorley MacLean. This translation was also done by the poet himself. So it's acceptable. But I prefer this one just because it has a bit more detail in it in terms of words we can think about and reflect on, as opposed to the other one, which is a bit more hidden behind the Gaelic. Like if you don't speak Gaelic, you might struggle with it a little bit. Okay, anyway, so he opens by talking about this place, Talisker, which is that's a picture of it that you can see in that picture right there. It's a bay. It's essentially a beach. It's a beach with water in front of it. With the great white foaming mouth of water opens between two jaws as hard as flint. The headland of stones and the red point, I'd stand forever by the waves, renewing love out of their crumpling graves. Okay, so again, he starts off by laying out the idea that he would stand forever by the waves, and the important part of this poem is what is said right in the beginning, which is if we were, and he's gonna repeat this multiple times throughout the poem. This idea, if we were. meaning that if he was together with this woman, actually, I might have been a mistake. Yeah, maybe he's not actually with her, but he's just thinking about being with her. And because the if means if the two of us, if I were with you. Okay. So what I said in the beginning, scratch that. He's actually not with her. Again, he's thinking about being with her. So it's the same actually as the other poems, where he is thinking about being with this woman, but he's not actually with her at this point. He's just dreaming about being with her. So again, it's the idea of separation. So what I said in the beginning, scratch that. Okay, that's a mistake. I didn't notice the if, huh? If I thought it was we were, meaning they are together, but it's an if. So he's imagining again. So it's actually exactly the same as the other two poems that we looked at. Okay, so he's saying if he was with her, okay, on this beach with the ocean or the water in front of it, he would stand there forever with the waves, renewing love out of their crumpling graves, as long as the sea would be going over the Bay of Talisker forever. So basically, as long as the ocean was moving in waves, and as long as the waves were sort of crashing and the waves were, speaking almost, um, every time the waves would move in to onto the beach and then go back again, he would tell this woman how much he loved her. Basically, his expression of his deep love for her. I would stand thee by the filling tide till Prishal bowed his stallion head. So that Prishal, or I think there's other ways to pronounce it, is a rock formation which looks like a horse. So he's saying basically that he's gonna stand there next to her, next to this woman. He wants to stand with this woman until the rock formation, the mountain, bows its head, which is obviously never gonna happen, right? Because the mountain doesn't move. So he's saying like essentially he's gonna stand there with her forever. Okay, he's gonna stand with her forever. That's the idea he's capturing in this. Okay, and if the two of us were together, so he begins again by that same opening statement. If the two of us were together on the shores of Calgary in Mull, another place, um, I guess, in Scotland, near Scotland, between Scotland and Tiree, between this world and eternity, I'd stand there till time was done, counting the sands grain by grain. So again, if he was with her, okay, if the two of them that were together, not just in this world, so now he's taking the situation and then he's making it even sort of like spiritual. He's making it sort of almost supernatural, if you like. He's saying that if we were together between this world and the next in limbo, and limbo is a place that is supposed to be between heaven and hell. It's a place where people go who uh, weren't officially, blessed or baptized or something like that. Anyway, it's between, so he's saying if we were between this world and eternity, if we are halfway between this world and the next world, um, I'd stand there until time was done. So basically, if you imagine that the idea was something like that, uh, people who maybe they die or something, they're waiting for the world to end, and the world is like a sand, what do you call it, sand timer, that ticks down the sand. So the world's like a sand timer. So the people who have passed on, they're waiting for the world to end so then they can move on with their journey and to the next world and to the next life. So he's saying basically that is if him and this woman were halfway in the journey between this world and the next life, he would watch the sand, and this also references the beach that he mentioned a minute ago, and the beach that he's talking about here on the shores of Calgary in Mull. Um, he would sit counting. He would be with her, with this woman. He would stay with her, and would want to stay with her for as long as it would take for the sand itself to disappear. So for the whole world to turn into sand and disappear into the sea. That's how long he wants to be with her. Again, it's just like extremely sort of romantic and illustrating how much he likes her and he wants to be with her. Counting the sands grain by grain. So the amount of time it would take him to count each grain of sand on a massive beach, or the world itself turning into sand, and then counting each grains piece by piece. The length of time it would take to do that, he wants to stay with her for that long. In other words, forever. Okay. And also on Uist, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. On Hosta's shore, in the face of solitude's fierce stare, I'd remain standing without sleep while sea were ebbing drop by drop. So again, same kind of idea. I'd stand without sleep, so he's being romantic again. He's saying that he doesn't want to sleep when he's with her. He just wants to sort of be there with her together because that's how much he loves her. He wants to stay awake and enjoy every moment with her. I remember standing without sleep while the sea were ebbing, meaning what you call it, draining, if you like, uh, uh, pulling away, disappearing, drop by drop. So again, same idea. How long would it, the amount of time it would take for the ocean to disappear, drop by drop, that's how long he would want to be with her, meaning forever, again, forever. Okay, and if I were on my darts shorts, another place with you, my novelty of desire, I'd offer this synthesis of love. Grain and water, sand and wave, and were we by the shelves of Staffin, where the huge joyless sea is coughing stones and boulders from its throat, I'd build a fortified wall against eternity's savage hull. Okay, so if I were on Moy Dart's shore, so again, it's another place, another beach, and it's interesting. Why does he use so much, water imagery or shore imagery? Why does he use so much, beach imagery? It's a repetition of this idea of being on the shore with this woman. Well, what is the shore? The shore is the place where the land meets the ocean, meets the sea, and the shore is the place where the beach, sorry, the water turns the land into sand because the water acting on the stone erodes the stone and turns it into sand, grains of sand. So I guess in a way the ocean is sort of like a representation of, you could say something like excuse me, you could say something like, eternity in a way. That's like the ocean. It's like a place that doesn't end. It's like a never-ending sort of landscape. That's the ocean, if you think about it metaphorically or, classically. And then the beach itself being gradually created, more of the beach being created with this ocean. It's like a place, I guess, that captures the idea of time or that is focused on time, and that the more time passes, the more the actions of infinity, which would be like the ocean, creates sand, creates more sand, and sand obviously is a classic sort of idea related to time as well. So it's a place where time is captured, and in both cases, like every day, more sand is created. Okay, more sand is created, and it's created by the actions of the infinite ocean. So it's a place where you have like different layers of infinity or different layers of eternity. It's like an eternal type of place. It's also an extremely, obviously, beautiful type of place, romantic type of place. So I guess all of these things get captured in his use of this place. Okay. I'd offer this synthesis of love, grain and water, sand and wave. So what's the synthesis of love? It could be the poem, this poem that he's talking about. It could be he could be talking about the land itself, grain and water, just like the way that I laid it out. Um, I'd say it's probably more likely that it's going to be talking about the poem, this poem itself, because that would sort of connect well with the other poetry that we've looked at in that when he says like I give you immortality, um, how he talks about how the poem or whatever that he's writing is the thing that is the thing that gives the woman immortality. So again, it's the same idea. He's writing a poem basically because of how much he loves this woman, and the poem itself captures her in a way which will last forever. Okay, and were we by the shelves of Staffin, where the huge joyless sea is coughing stones and boulders from its throat? It's a nice personification. I'd build a fortified wall against eternity's savage hill. So were we by the shelves of Staffin, where the huge joyless sea is coughing stones and boulders? So this, if you imagine like the sea is sort of attacking them, if they're standing together, and the sea is attacking them with stones and boulders, it's throwing rocks at them and also trying to attack them with its water. He said he'll build a wall against it, against eternity's savage hull, against the passage of time itself. So he's going to protect her from and their love together. He's going to protect them both from like eternity, meaning from time making it disappear. So again, just sort of similar to what we talked about before. It's essentially he will do whatever it takes, and he will do whatever is necessary to make sure that when they are together, that they will be together forever. Essentially, that's the idea, and that's what he wants. Most of all, he wants to be with her forever. So again, it's sort of another very romantic love poem, which is similar to the others. And again, it uses the nature of Scotland, the different landscapes in Scotland. In this case, particularly focused on the different the water imagery, and those places which are near like lochs and different parts of different islands and things like that. Um, excuse me. In terms of the themes, like I said in this text, obviously the main themes are, intense love again. Longing is also another theme, similar to the other poems, in that he is again, very desperate to be near this woman and, to be with her, to spend time with her. It's a lucky girl, yeah. Whoever these poems are written about. Um, and the desire for immortality, or the desire to maintain love forever, to not just have, a moment of love or romance, but to basically to have eternal type of love, to have love which goes beyond life itself. Um, okay.